Coming up on New York Knicks Now, according to the New York Post, the Knicks interested in trading potentially for Eric Gordon. That's what we're breaking down on today's show, as well as Kemba Walker not speaking with Coach Tom Thibodeau. But first, the Knicks are struggling right now. That is no secret. 13-17 going into tonight's game against the Detroit Pistons. 2-8 in their last 10 games. So I want to hear from you in the comment section right now before we get today's show started. You would give the Knicks a blank grade. Fill it in for me, A, B, C, D, or F, and let's start today's show. All right, you're watching New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Senior. I hope all of your weeks are going very well with Christmas right around the corner. A happy holiday season to all of you from the Chat Sports family. So according to the New York Post, the Knicks are interested in trading for Eric Gordon of the Houston Rockets. The Rockets, of course, going with the youth movement. One of the worst teams in the NBA this year, although I really like what they did in the NBA draft, compiling a lot of young pieces, and because of that, Eric Gordon could be made on his way out. Now, Gordon on a long list of players the Knicks have discussed internally, according to that report, and there are some ties with him and a player on the Knicks right now, Derrick Rose. They played AAU ball together growing up. They were called and deemed the Eric and Derrick show. Can you imagine two future NBA players on the same AAU squad? Yes, I understand that when you play AAU hoops, everybody is a pretty solid player. Not all of them are future NBA stars, and both of them, D. Rose and Eric, have been at one point or another NBA stars. And Derrick Rose, when he was with the Knicks back in 2016, tried to recruit Gordon to New York. Could it happen here in 2021 or potentially at the NBA trade deadline in 2022? As for the player that Eric Gordon is, got off to a very sluggish and slow start to the year. He's really started to pick it up of late. And we know this guy has always been a very good sharpshooter. This year, up to date, averaging a tick under 15 points per game. He's shooting around 48% from the floor. His three-point percentage has climbed a lot the last couple of weeks, up to 44.5%, and his free throw percentage down to 70.5%. It was north of 80 last year, but I'm not all too concerned with that. The Knicks could really use a sharpshooter, and sometimes things offensively for this basketball team right now can get way too clunky and way too predictable. Julius Randle is struggling, and that's a big part of their offensive struggles. I just think they could use another floor spacer, and if the Rockets are going to move on from a veteran in Eric Gordon, he could be made available in a trade, and you don't have to give up all too much to get him. Maybe it's a salary dump with maybe trading away a guy like Kemba Walker. Last 3 years for Eric Gordon, though, a little bit of a concern. He has been somewhat brittle. He has been injury prone. Only 88 games, including this year. Now, he's been available this year, which is a good sign if you want to do trade for him. But the last couple of years, he has gone down on that injured list a lot. But after a slow start, he's been a lot better. And we see this all the time with longtime veterans who are playing for bad teams. When they go to a contender, when they go to a larger market, they get that sense of energy and they're re-energized to a certain degree. And because of that, working off a little bit of that adrenaline, they play better basketball. Could that be the hope with Eric Gordon? And could he continue on this positive trend? Potentially. As for that report from the New York Post, here's what it had to say about the Knicks' interest in Gordon. Knicks point guard Derrick Rose has had Rocket shooting guard Eric Gordon on his radar. Now with the December 15 trade marker passed, Knicks president Leon Rose does as well. Gordon, on a long list of potentially available players the Knicks have talked about internally, according to a source. The three-point shooting guard isn't a fit for the rebuilding Rockets as he turns 33 on Christmas Day. Nice day to ring in the birthday. The Post reported in 2016, after Rose was traded to the Knicks, that he was trying to recruit the then free agent Gordon to New York. Gordon eventually signed a deal with New Orleans, and he's played for a couple of teams throughout his very, very successful NBA career. As we always do here at Chat Sports, and if you're new to us, we love for you to sound off and get that comment section popping off, and we just like to interact with you during our shows. So, this is a part of that. What is your level of interest in Eric Gordon on this basketball team? Scale it for me from 1 to 10, 1 being don't like him at all, 10 all in. Get those votes in the comment section right now. Now, I was never a great high school, college student because I procrastinated everything. I did not procrastinate on my holiday shopping. If you did, it is all good. And if you want to get yourself or somebody else some really swaggy, fresh Knicks gear, we have you hooked up thanks to our friends at Fanatics, today's presenting sponsor. All you have to do, plug in that link down below for all of these phenomenal deals to apply, some of them up to 50% off, chatsports.com/Knicks sale. I am going to put that link in the description as well as the comment section of this video. It is never too late to do some holiday shopping. And if these gifts don't come in time, it's all good. You can blame it on inflation and you can blame it on shipping just being delayed because that's a big problem in America. Just listen to me and tell them that Chat Sports sent you. Next up on the show, Kemba Walker, we covered this a couple weeks ago, was out of the rotation, benched outright by Coach Tom Thibodeau. And since then, according to the New York Post and Marc Berman, they have not been speaking at all. Really awkward environment. Can you imagine if you're an employee of a company and you don't speak with your boss for weeks? Apparently, that's what's going down between Kemba and Thibs right now. So this is a little bit of a back and forth after Kemba Walker went off the other night against the Boston Celtics in that loss. Has Thibodeau explained anything about why this has happened? Walker responded to that by saying, "No, sir. Have you talked to him at all during the 9 straight DNPs? No, sir." Were you confused by that? Was I confused? No. I'm not starting. I ain't playing. So I'm here for my team. I'm here for my teammates. I can't say it enough. Whatever's asked of me, that's what I'm here for. And Kemba Walker also went on to say that he hated the benching. And I want to go back to kind of comparing sports to business because sports organizations at the end of the day are money-making businesses and athletes are employees. Can you imagine if you really like your job and you just weren't allowed to do your job because your boss was like, "Hey, we got other people who are breathing down your neck. We don't like your performance. We don't like how you're doing. So yeah, take a seat." That would suck, and I would hate that too. I love my job at Chat Sports. I love chopping it up, talking sports, NFL, college football, NBA on a daily basis. If I wasn't able to do this, honestly, I would not be doing well in between my ears. And for Kemba Walker, that's probably the case as well, considering that his career has kind of gone in a downward trajectory over the last couple of years. Now, when he finally did play, after those 9 consecutive DNP coaches' decisions, he went off against the Boston Celtics and looked like the prime Kemba Walker. Now, he had a lot of opportunities to shoot the rock, and because of that, the volume was certainly there, but he performed and he had himself ready, and when he was asked to be ready, he came through, albeit in a loss. 29 points, 8 of 20 from the floor, 5 of 11 from deep, and 6 rebounds. You look at Kemba Walker and this situation right now, especially with how he's playing. I was talking with my boy Marshall Green, who you see here on New York Knicks Now. Was it enough in that game against the Celtics to possibly drum up some trade interest across the league? For the New York Knicks' sake, and for us here on New York Knicks Now, hopefully that is the case. Because if you can get something back for a pretty expensive player who has $17 million in guaranteed money this year and next year combined, if you can get a semblance of anything back for Kemba, that'd be good for this basketball team. And it's obvious that Thibs doesn't really like Kemba and doesn't see him as a fit on this roster. So you just try to get any types of value back for Kemba, especially if he's not playing, especially when these injury issues and these COVID issues do sort itself out, and hopefully they do soon, but that could mean that Kemba is on the outside looking in for this Knicks rotation. So I ask you this before we dip on out of here. Would you like to see more Kemba Walker on the court rocking that Knicks jersey, not getting DNP'd? You tell me. M for more minutes, L for less minutes. Chime in, sound off. Thanks for watching today's show.